liquor store too?
Evan, Heather should be able to figure out who runs their photos. Because signed up for the council chat design.
Let me see if I can. I still have got to find contact info, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I am. Where's my, here. We ready? Yeah, but I'm back. Yeah. Mark's standing back there. Does that mean he's ready? Ready? Sure. Okay. Pardon? Did you get your stuff from the room? Shut the door. I did. Okay.
So punctual.
Good evening. This is the Village Council regular public meeting. The date is May 8th, 2024. The time is 7:30 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Perrin.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds.
Here.
Councilmember Whites.
Here.
Councilmember Winograd.
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here, will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of April 30th, 2024 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. And now we have several proclamations to read. Siobhan, will you take the lead on this?
Sure. We have some celebrity visitors in the front row who this is for, so welcome. Whereas James Rose, a pioneering champion of modern American design, built his groundbreaking home in Ridgewood in 1953, and it is a world-renowned example of a more sustainable approach to post-World War II suburban development. And whereas the James Rose National Historic Registered listed home has been recognized for its excellence by the American Institute of Architects, the American Society of Landscape Architects, and numerous other national and international historic preservation and design organizations. And whereas the James Rose Center, as the historic home is currently known, contributes to the Ridgewood community by offering classes, tours, lectures, exhibitions, and other special events focused on the integral relationship between individuals and the environment. Whereas the James Rose Center explores the interrelationship between people and the environment to contribute a more sustainable suburban condition through preservation, research, and design. And whereas the James Rose Center also works to preserve, promote, and protect other modern American cultural resources. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim and recognize the James Rose Center as a significant cultural resource for the Village of Ridgewood, as well as for the United States of America. And be it further resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood recognizes the need to nurture the James Rose Center preservation and use, and encourage all of its residents to participate in and otherwise support its continued presence in our community.
Thanks, Siobhan. Gentlemen, I know we have you here. Would you please come to our microphone and tell us and tell our community a little bit more about the James Rose Center. And if you'll begin by giving us your name and your address.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Rose. My address is 903 Hillcrest Road in Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Is the green light on the microphone
is.
on?
It is.
Okay.
I can hear
Okay, just speak into
Yes,
the
it is.
microphone,
Yeah, if you
please.
could speak a little closer to the microphone, that'd be great.
And hello, my name is Daniel Razik. I live at 506 East Ridgewood Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey, aka the James Rose Center.
So thank you to the Village Council for recognizing the James Rose Center and the work that we continue to do there. As the proclamation mentioned, the house was originally built in 1953, so it has been there through most of our lives here in Ridgewood. And yet at the same time, it's often recognized as the house that isn't there, or that space across from the high school that I was never sure quite what it was. And it's something that, while once you're on the property, it makes it a very special place to visit. We do want to make sure that more people in Ridgewood recognize the status of the home and come and visit us. As the proclamation also mentioned, we continually do tours and events and classes throughout the year. We're open generally from May until the end of October, from Tuesday through Sunday for tours. You can register online for those tours, or if you happen to find yourself there, you're always welcome to just come in, and we will gladly greet you and put you on a tour for the day. Again, we're open from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. during those days. You'll also find that one of Rose's main kind of concepts was that there was not so much of a difference between your exterior world and your interior world. And so the classes and events that we do center, of course, on architecture and landscape architecture, but we also look at the interior world, and we have classes on yoga and meditation and breath work and different things like that. We also look to preserve and work with local resources and making sure that we have mostly environmentally sustainable way of living. It was one of James Rose's kind of hallmarks. He was very, very resourceful in using the plants and landscaping that were on an existing property, and so we continue to make the same efforts going forward. So we do events around using local plants, using sustainable type of gardenings, and even things like local beekeeping and different events that are within the community and of the same vein. And so it's something that you can find again on our calendar and see all sorts of different types of things that might be of interest to you. So as it was proclaimed, it is a historic landmark that is something that's been here for a while, but we want to make sure that the community knows about it. We invite you to come and visit us, whether it be just through a tour, whether it be through an opportunity to volunteer. We do have another volunteer weekend this Saturday, so you're welcome to come a bit early because we don't open to the public until the 18th of May, but this Saturday you can sign up and be a volunteer and see it a little earlier than everybody else. Otherwise, thank you again to the Village Council and to the community, and we hope to see you this spring or summer.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do for our community.
Thank you.
And next, we have a proclamation to commemorate the anniversary of Emergency Medical Services Week. Evan, would you do the honors?
Absolutely. So whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who have experienced sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas this year we recognize May 19th through 25th, 2024, as marking the 50th anniversary of EMS Week, and this year's theme, Honoring Our Past, Forging Our Future, reminds us to acknowledge the foundational work of those who came before us, while also striving to build and lead the EMS systems we envision for our future. And whereas in the 50 years since we've been celebrating EMS Week, the profession has made enormous stride in the pre-hospital care, data collection, emergency management, and community-based health care. Comprehensive EMS systems have been developed that are ready for any kind of emergency, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, whether or not that includes going to the hospital. Now be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through May 25th, 2024, as Emergency Medical Services Week in the Village of Ridgewood, and encourages the community to support Ridgewood Emergency Medical Services, as well as to observe this 50th anniversary week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Thank you, Evan. And now I have the honor of reading the proclamation for recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives, and whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood is a stigma-free community standing beside Ridgewood residents to break down barriers and encouraging them to be mindful of their mental health and to ask for help when needed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 2024 as National Mental Health Awareness Month, and calls upon the citizens of the Village of Ridgewood to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, educate our citizens on the steps they can take to protect their mental health, and recognize the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. And we will move on to our proclamation recognizing Pride Month. Siobhan.
Sure. Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood recognizes the human rights of individuals everywhere and embraces the rights of all people to live their lives freely in a world that is accepting and respectful. And whereas for far too long, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning LGBTQ+ community have been marginalized, dehumanized, and demoralized for merely living in a manner consistent with our national fundamental beliefs of life, liberty, and freedom for all. And whereas, sadly and regrettably, persons of the LGBTQ+ community have suffered prejudice, discrimination, and too many have had to hide or deny their sexual orientation to keep their jobs or live safely in their communities. And whereas the Village Council recognizes there are still many challenges before us, and we must stand together firm in our resolve to reject acts of prejudice, acts of hatred and violence against any person for any reason. And whereas senseless hatred, bigotry, and intolerance has no place in society, and it's incumbent that village leaders and all residents foster greater empathy, understanding, and caring for each other. And Whereas members of the LGBTQ+ community have made important and lasting contributions to our village, state, and nation by enriching our lives and helping to encourage and develop a more inclusive and thoughtful world. And whereas members of the LGBTQ+ community include our acquaintances, our coworkers, our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, and our family members, and each and every one deserves respect, understanding, compassion, and the right to live and love whomever they choose. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood embraces all of our brothers and sisters, appreciating our similarities and celebrations as well as our differences. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 2024 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month and encourages village's residents to celebrate our diversity and recognize the need to embrace all members of our community with love and acceptance.
Thank you, Siobhan. And Evan, there is a very important one for National Cancer Survivors Day.
Thanks so much, Paul. Whereas today more than 18 million Americans are cancer survivors thanks to advances in early detection, treatment, and research. And whereas surviving cancer can leave a host of problems in its wake with physical, emotional, and financial hardships, often persisting for years after diagnosis, treatment with challenges including access to cancer specialists and promising new treatments, denial of health and life insurance coverage, financial hardships long after the initial diagnosis and treatment, employment problems, psychological struggles, and the strain on personal relationships and the profound fear of reoccurrence. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood has an active and productive cancer survivor population, demonstrating that cancer survivors can live active, productive lives even though they still face many challenges. And whereas communities all across America will be celebrating National Cancer Survivors Day on Sunday, June 2nd, 2024, as part of the world's largest annual cancer survivors event. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2024 as National Cancer Survivors Day in the Village of Ridgewood and urges all residents to join in this joyous celebration of life.
Thanks so much, Ev. And the last one to close out is Pam will be reading a proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Thank you. Whereas each day 120 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are injured, with Americans being 25 times more likely to be murdered with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is one of the highest responsibilities of the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, which is why support of the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens go hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas June 2nd, 2024 would have been the 27th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. And whereas a national coalition organization has established National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods. And orange is also a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, as well as encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim June 7th, 2024 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Village of Ridgewood and encourages all residents of the Village of Ridgewood to support efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone on this council. Thank you, Heather, for preparing these proclamations. These are very meaningful proclamations, so important to all of us, and I am proud that this council takes a few moments out of its schedule to recognize these issues and bring them to the attention of everyone. And so let's move on. And before we get to our public comment section, I'd like to take a moment. We're going to recognize a new business owner in the community, Massimo Sola, who has just opened his restaurant, Sola, on South Broad Street, Massimo, would you please come to the microphone, give us your name, your address, tell us a little bit about yourself and your restaurant.
Buonasera, good evening to everybody. My name is Massimo Sola. I am from Milano. 3 days ago, I became American citizen. I'm so proud of that.
Oh, ho, ho, ho!
It took me nine years and a half, but I follow all the process, and then I'm so proud of that. So I opened this. I've been in this business for 43 years, so I can tell it's my job. I opened this restaurant. I'm very happy because it's a great location. I love Ridgewood. I've been in Ridgewood before 2 years ago, and I fell in love with this town. And I am a friend of Max Viola, who was the previous owner at Pearl Restaurant that I bought from him, the restaurant. We're still in contact. I wanted just to retire, and it was the opportunity for me to keep going with this adventure. It's an authentic Italian restaurant. I'm a chef. I'm from Milano again. So I wish I can put on the table a piece of my country with no contamination. I mean, there's no fusion. It's authentic Italian. The pasta is the pasta. The main course are the main course. And I hope you'll come and enjoy my food, everybody. Okay? Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you again.
Thank you, Massimo. I would like to say, to begin with, I have eaten at your restaurant several times. I would like to say also that I own the building that you are in, so that everyone understands that even though I do, believe me, my comments are incredibly unbiased. Your food is outstanding, and I know you've been incredibly well received. We wish you nothing but good luck, good health, and happiness in your new location. And now we will go to public comment.
Frank, the B-Man, Mortimer, 426 Van Buren Street, Ridgewood, New Jersey. I just want to thank the council and the mayor for recognizing the James Rose Center. It really is a treasure. And to everybody listening, if you haven't been there, it's amazing of how it just integrates living with people inside and you're outside. And what's really significant, especially after the Columbia students were here last week, it doesn't flood. It's on Southern Parkway and East Ridgewood Avenue, and it doesn't flood. And that shows how James Rose really looked at the environment and how to build houses in it. And I think that as we move forward in solving flooding issues in our town, we can look to the James Rose Center for some inspiration of what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else? Seeing no one, we will go to our hybrid access participants. Denise, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. First, thank you for mentioning about the cancer survivors. I'm sure I've said this story before, but I am an ovarian cancer survivor. Can't emphasize enough that people can beat cancer. You just have to go to the doctors. You got to get your annual checkup, and modern medicine is amazing. A few things
Could you
about
just
the
state your name
website.
and address, please?
Oh.
Name and address?
My fault.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Denise.
No, my bad. Denise Lima, 319 East Glen Ave.
You're new at this, so we understand.
I know, yes. Okay, so website. I noticed that the page for projects under popular resources is no longer there. It's moved, so it's a few clicks down. Not sure if that's a mistake or how we can move it back up. One of the projects that are on there that I frequently talk about and ask about is the master plan. We've been working on it since 2015. We've spent over $1 million in consultants' fees, people getting together, a lot of residents putting a lot of time in it, as well as the council. It was approved in 2022, and we still have no update on the master plan at all. We hear a lot, it's coming, we've done great things, but I don't think we've seen anything concrete, and it's certainly not listed on the project section. There used to be the town garage on the project section there. I don't know why the public didn't have a chance to review or where the money's coming from, but I'd like to add the town garage to that section as well. Zabriskie Shedler House is pretty thorough. It's been built out. I would like to see who is, from an artifacts, paper trail, maybe a list of the different consultants, engineering companies, that we've hired to be working on it, just in case, somebody needs to go back and look at it. That's not there, and, people are asking who's now still working on it, what consultants, and so it would be good if we just had that. Which leads me to archiving. So when these projects get archived, I don't see the archive button anymore. Need to make sure that we can still get to that. Just like West Ave pedestrian walls missing, the archive for the Franklin Ave corridor. Those are the type of projects that, I can't find anymore. And last but not least, to the village manager, I don't see any picnic tables yet in the parks. I'm just saying. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Denise. Cynthia, you're up.
Hi, good evening. Cynthia O'Keefe, 542 West Saddle River Road. It was really nice to hear those proclamations, especially to learn about the James Rose House, and it made me, think a lot about the Shedler property. And, you talked about sustainability on that particular property. And I hope, that we will move in that direction so that the Zabriskis and the Shedlers looking, down from above will appreciate what was done with that land that they loved so dearly. And it was a farm and there's a lot of history there. So, when I hear these proclamations, it warms my heart, but it breaks my heart at the same time that we're gonna tear all those trees down and that we're still talking about turf a year and a half later. So sustainability, I think, is the name of the game, and we could probably learn something from communities that are already doing that. We talked about mental health, we talked about cancer. All of those things dovetail into making the right decisions. So I know as a municipality, that's your goal, and I hope that we move in the right direction. Last but not least, I just wanted to mention that I tried to dial into the Fields Committee call on Tuesday, and unfortunately, I'm not really sure what happened, but the details that were posted the night before were not the correct details. So I kind of sat on the phone for about 20 minutes until I figured that I should probably look for some updated details. And they also weren't on the Board of Ed site. So just FYI, I know there are people who are interested in joining. I'm one of them, and it would be great to just solidify those details in advance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia, and apologies for the snafu on the Fields Committee meeting. Susan, you're up.
Hello, Susan Moran, 705 Kingsbridge Lane. Thank you for the proclamations at the beginning. That was very insightful for the various recognitions. I also, I'm just following up in regard to two items. I do like the sustainability about the Rose House. I think that should be investigated, hopefully when the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers comes, that they'll look on how to implement stuff like that for not only like Hohokus Brook, but Saddle River. And there are other homes that are not on major riverbanks, but they still get flooded because some sort of wells or something. Anyway, I was just also inquiring, when I know last year there was a posting on Facebook of what roads will be done, the timetable, will something like that occur this year for repavement? And also to get more insight on what's going to happen when the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers visits. I know there's a meeting scheduled for June 17th with residents. Will residents have Like, how long is the meeting? Are residents limited to a time period of speaking? Is it one person per time? Just to get some sort of idea, because I think people need to put it on their calendar, because, a lot of that week, I think Ridgewood's graduating high school. So parents might be gearing up to do other things. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment. Does anyone have any comments regarding anything raised today? Pam?
Yes, I wanted to respond to Denise Lima's inquiry about the master plan. We did have a subcommittee meeting on the master plan this week, Monday, and we got through the utilities element and recycling. And I am also going to be conferring with the Parks and Rec Conservation Board and the Historic Preservation Commission to see what their input is on action items that are mentioned in the master plan. I hope to be able to make a presentation this summer.
Sure. I want to add, thank you, Pam. I don't believe we've spent $1 million on the master plan either. I think it was $250,000 prior to my arrival here. And to add to that and do a little bit of self-promotion, this month, in an effort to deal with overlap issues between open space and parks, we're having a joint meeting between the two boards. I don't have my calendar in front of me. I think it's May 28th. It'll be on the website, and we'll be discussing many things, but there are elements of the master plan deliverable in that joint meeting, so I hope everybody enjoys us and joins us. With respect to the website, anything that people see, it's much easier for us to respond. If you wanted Denise write that, that'd be great. I will say that with respect to Shedler and who's doing what, all of the technical reports go on the letterhead of the person who's technically delivering it. So you would see Matrix report, and Matrix would be on the letterhead. You would see Grub on the Grub letterhead, and we include that there. So again, if you'd like to see more, please let us know. And then just because I do want to let everybody know there are picnic tables at Graydon. There are tables there, and Graydon is opening, and I hope everybody takes the time to go and enjoy Graydon and one of the picnic tables. Also, I love the James Rose thing. I promised Evan I wasn't going to do this, but I have to. When my sister was in college, she came home with one of her friends who was an architect major and said that Frank Lloyd Wright was an awesome architect, and Ridgewood had another awesome architect, and it was James Rose. So I had to go there with my sister when I was 16, and they talked all about the integration of the outside architecture into it, and it really is a gem, and I wasn't going to say it, but I want to say that. Additionally, the difference between Shedler and James Rose is James Rose is privately held, and they have a lot of fundraising capabilities. But in addition to that, with the Shedler house, I think anybody who looks at that house would be relieved that it was saved, restored, and such an enormous amount of capital was spent on it. So that's all I want to say. Those are the differences, is we can't privately raise funds like James Rose can. And by the way, everybody should look into donating to them or going to one of their events. And I just wish they had been here for that story. Sorry, Evan.
Thanks, Siobhan, and you'll deal with her later on that. Anybody else?
Mayor, just on a few items. We are assessing the need for picnic tables in the various parks in the village. I spoke to Nancy Bigos about that during budget. She's got a lot on her plate right now with the transition into the summer season, but it has not fallen off the list. With regard to Ms. O'Keefe, I just want to stress that yesterday she did bring the link to the Fields meeting agenda to our attention. Unfortunately, the person who's responsible for that and does it on a monthly basis experienced a death in the family, so there was a little bit of a juggle in putting that agenda together and getting that link out to the public. But I do want to stress that both Councilmember Winograd and Christine Corliss, the Public Information Officer at the Board of Education, did respond to Ms. O'Keefe's concern yesterday morning prior to 11 o'clock. So it was addressed in short order. And we now have a mechanism set up where our communications director and the Public Information Officer are testing each of these links for each of the individual village meetings, or if it's a joint meeting with the Board of Education, to make sure that they're enabled before the meeting begins. And lastly, with regard to Susan, we are in the process of soliciting bids for road resurfacing. Once the streets are finalized, we will certainly publish that, as we did last fall. And with regard to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers coming in, as we stated in the past, and I was going to bring up in my report tonight, we do have a meeting with them on June 17th. It will be a presentation format where they will present to the public both their medium-term and long-term programs to address flooding in municipalities like ours. There will be the opportunity for the public to participate and share information about how it affects them individually. I can't say that there will be a time frame on people speaking. However, if we have a big crowd, we may have to implement that in order to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks for explaining the issue with the link. That's very important. And so, with that, you're still on, Keith, because we're going right to our village manager's report.
So first, I want to welcome Massimo to the village. It's interesting, this is the first municipality I've been in where it's a tradition for the village manager to write a letter to each new business opening up in the village, inviting them to come to a council meeting. I think Massimo was the first response I've had since I've been village manager, but it is tradition for us to invite every new business owner to the village council meeting to introduce themselves. So I'm pleased he did this evening. With regard to the Fields Committee, as per Councilman White's request, we did present the field lighting plan for Veterans Field to the Fields Committee yesterday morning. There were no objections. There was a lot of support. Some questions about additional growth and being able to light the softball fields at some point in the future. But overall, very positive feedback from all the members of the Fields Committee on that project. We are in the final stages of completing the application for Shedler. I think the final edits were actually being implemented today. So I anticipate in the next few days that that will be off to the State Historic Preservation Office for their review. The fields analysis, which will accompany the resubmission for the Shedler application, will be presented to the Village Council independently of the Shedler application at one of our June meetings. So I'm working with Heather right now to schedule that with Suburban Consulting, and they will be present here at a meeting in June to present their findings with regard to the field analysis. On June 8th, we will have the open house at the Zabriskie Shedler House on the Shedler property. They will be guided tours between 11 and 2, and there will be a sign-up that will be announced shortly so folks can sign up to be guided through the house, and this way we can manage the amount of participants that are in the house at one time. And as I mentioned, again, it's worth repeating, the Army Corps will be here on June 17th. I do acknowledge that it is graduation week, although graduation is Wednesday the 19th. The meeting is on the 17th, but we really were at the mercy of their availability, and we did set the start time, which is going to be 7:30 p.m. Under announcements, just a reminder that the 2-day per week irrigation is in effect. Odd-numbered addresses are permitted to irrigate on Tuesdays and Saturdays, even-numbered addresses on Wednesdays and Sundays. No irrigation is permitted on Mondays, Thursdays, or Fridays. Tomorrow is our Touch-a-Truck event at Van Est Square. It will operate from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., weather permitting, although right now my last update is that the event is on. So I want to encourage everyone to come participate with the little ones at our Touch-a-Truck event. Project Pride planting is Sunday, May 19th, beginning at 7:45. I'm sure Council Member Reynolds will report more about that under her report. The Fred D'Elia 46th Annual Ridgewood Run will take place here on Memorial Day on Monday, May 27th. The course starts at Veterans Field and is sponsored by North Jersey Masters. All participants must be registered, and they can do so at njmasters.com. The Memorial Day holiday is Monday, May 27th, and will be observed in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square at 11 a.m. with American Legion Post 53. They have a planned patriotic program and welcomes to the public to remember and acknowledge all of the sacrifices made by those we lost in the armed services. The Village of Ridgewood offices will also be closed on Memorial Day in observance and to honor our war dead. There will be no sanitation, recycling, or yard waste collection on that day. Please check the village calendar for the adjusted garbage recycling and yard waste schedule. The Ridgewood Guild will be sponsoring Music in the Night for the 14th season and will provide music in various locations on Friday nights starting May 31st through Labor Day. Upcoming Village Council meetings, May 22nd is a work session, June 5th is a work session, June 12th is the public meeting, and June 26th is a work session, all at 7:30 p.m. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thanks, Keith. And let's go to Village Council reports. Evan?
Thanks so much, Paul. I'll be brief. It's only been a week since we were here last. This past Sunday night, I had the privilege of attending the Holocaust Remembrance event at Temple Israel with Deputy Mayor Perrin. It was a really moving event where we reflect on the 11 million people who died in the Holocaust, 6 million Jews, 5 million non-Jews. Was really pleased to see the police chief was there. We had a number of other officials as well. But what makes this event special, every year I've gone, I think every year since we've done it, is the fact that we have members from all other houses of worship in Ridgewood. That's just a wonderful message, especially in these times, to be sending to our citizens and to be setting an example in our community, in our state, in our country, in our world. And I want to personally thank all of the clergy members here in Ridgewood who attended the event. It was somber, it was sobering, but it was really remarkable. And thank you, Deputy Mayor, as well. We did do she did a reading on behalf of the village. Also really well done. And again, thank you for showing up.
Thanks, Evan. Siobhan?
Sure. So we had a fields meeting yesterday. I do want to say, if anybody ever on the fields, we are relying on the Board of Ed for the Zoom, but we take about the first 5 minutes to get everybody on board. If there's any future problems, I know Mr. Loving, thank you for calling in and saying to the group, you can email any of us, and I know that the Board of Ed responded very quickly, which was nice. The Fields Committee we met for about 2 hours at 7 a.m., and it went very well. While the lights were very well received, there was feedback that, we had left the girls out, and in some sense we had. The girls' softball field is not part of our lighting. I think it's important because when these things are said, the reasons we have these committees is to hear that, and with no defense mechanism, we took that. Keith was there, Nam was there, and we had a discussion, and they were very articulate from the Fields community that they'd like to see the girls also lit as well. We're not going to amend anything that we voted on, but it was an important part for gender equality on our fields, and they were, really want to thank the people who said it, and we've have it on our list now. It's pretty high up there. We also had a presentation from RASA, which I want everyone to get used to that super cool name, of Ridgewood Adult Soccer. So Ridgewood Adult Soccer currently plays out of district. Our current field policy does not have a space for them, and they have created a 501c3 named RASA, which is again a very cool name. And they are petitioning us for equal playing time and rights to play not only on Maple, where the village has been sponsoring them, but at the stadium and Stevens. And this was great. The superintendent was there. They put together a very thoughtful, presentation. Some of them had binders. And I want to thank them, Paul Coopersmith, Dwight Lauren, and thank them for coming. They've met with Parks and Rec and met with Fields, and the general sentiment is that we do want residents of Ridgewood to age and play in place. So that was a wonderful presentation. We also received an update on Orchard. Orchard is still closed, and the Board of Ed is working on it, obviously because of the remediation. It's a delicate situation, and the Board of Ed's making their determination between seeding and putting sod down. It was great to have Mark Schwartz there, and I want to thank everybody for the early rise and, working through a lot of issues. This morning I met with the Pride Committee, and I just want to mention a couple of things. Pride is June 1st. It's in Van Ness Square. All of you have gotten invitations. I'm hoping you can all attend. We are working on a draft letter to the business community, encouraging some of the businesses to do their own thing, maybe a Pride cocktail, a Pride bubble tea, a Pride discount if they so be it. So that note will go out to the business community and CBDAC, and I hope everybody marks it for June 1st. And lastly, I did just want to take a minute and say Happy Mother's Day to every mother in Ridgewood. If your mother's not in Ridgewood, Happy Mother's Day to her. And if anybody on this council forgot, now's a good time to remember.
Thank you, Siobhan. And what was the name of that adult soccer association again?
Rasa.
Because I know you want to say it again.
These guys came prepared. They really came prepared, and they've been very eloquent with everyone who they met. And they've just gone through all my committee meetings, and it's very interesting to think we spend all this time on youth sports, and then once you're done with the youth program, there's no place for them to do it. It's also interesting for the business community because they play in Mahwah, and they really would prefer to come back and dine in Ridgewood, and by the time they get back here, the kitchens are closed, and there's limited menu, and the commute to go to the Mahwah field is too much for them. So it was interesting, and when you guys meet them, you'll like saying it as well.
Well, thanks for that report. Lorraine.
Thank you. I'm going to make this very brief. I have a little laryngitis. I just want to say that Project Pride Planting Day is Sunday, May 19th. We are hurting for volunteers this year. Some of my committee members can't make it, so we really, really need the volunteers this year. I would appreciate anybody who's willing to help. It's like 2 hours. If we get enough people, it's 2 hours. You're in and out. And you can email me at lreynolds@ridgewoodnj.net. Sunday morning, May 19th, a week from Sunday at 7:45 in the morning. Thank you. And it is a lot of fun, believe it or not.
Thanks, Lorraine. Pam?
I will say, with regard to Project Pride, you get to see your flowers for three more months, right? It's really nice. You walk by the bucket that you planted, and you get to say, hey, those are mine. Okay, the Holocaust Remembrance Service at Temple Israel really made people think. The Reverend, his name was Reverend Pettit, from Indiana, I think he was, posed a thought that I had never considered before, that a society can commit a crime or crimes. And that the way to prevent that is to talk to people one-on-one and to engage them. And that's the way you prevent it happening, and we never want it to happen again. The Central Business District Advisory Committee meets tomorrow via Zoom. Thanks to Carol Bielkowski, the agenda is on the website with the link in there. We won't always be meeting via Zoom. Once a quarter, we meet in person. The Open Space Committee will be having its second park walk on Saturday, May 11th at 10 a.m. It's going to be in Pleasant Park. The meeting spot is going to be the parking lot at Hawes Elementary School, which is at the south end of Stevens Avenue. And also, our community gardens are down by the Hohokus Brook and are frequently flooded, and it's very disappointing for people who rent those boxes and spend so many hours planting, and then to have everything flooded and destroyed is very disheartening. And so I wanted to mention to people that the Old Paramus Reformed Church also has raised beds that people can rent for $20 a season. That's a pretty good price. They have 2 openings. And I also wanted to let you know, just in case you see people walking around town with paint cans, on June 8th, the Rotary Club, the AM Rotary Club, will be helping to paint the fire boxes, you know, those big red standing things that we have around town. They are going to be painting them. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Pam. And with that, we will go to our regular agenda. And so, I move the clerk read ordinance 3998 by title on second reading, and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Will the clerk please read the title of
Hold on. Perrin,
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Set.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. Well, look, I was so excited about this one. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3998?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 269 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Water at Section 269-8, Piping System Compliance, Right of Access.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3998 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
The following resolution, number 24-154, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. It will be read by title only. Authorized refund, 113 Circle Avenue. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
The following resolution, number 24-155, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. It will be read by title only. Authorized emergency appropriation, water pollution control facility project. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
I just wanted to clarify something. I understand we have a resolution on this as well.
and ordinance.
And the ordinance, yeah, oh, okay, this is the resolution. But the ordinance doesn't go into effect for a while, and that's why we need the resolution, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4001.
Second.
Okay. Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4001 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-59, Schedule 9, Stop Intersections, and Section 265-60, Schedule 10, Yield Intersections.
I move that ordinance 4001 be adopted on the first reading and that June 12, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4002.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4002 by title?
An ordinance to amend section, chapter, it should just be chapter, sorry. An ordinance to amend Chapter 190 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Land Use and Development, to add definitions for a variety of uses and to expand the scope of uses permitted in the village's business and commercial zones.
I move that ordinance 4002 be adopted on first reading and that June 12th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4003.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4003 by title?
A bond ordinance providing for the water pollution control facility project in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $478,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $454,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the costs thereof.
I move that ordinance 4003 be adopted on first reading and that June 12th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 4004.
I second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4004 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-27, Taxi Stands, and Section 265-72, Schedule 22, Loading Zones, and Section 265-73, Scheduled 23, Taxi Stands.
I move that ordinance 4004 be adopted on first reading and that June 12th, 2024 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3999 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3999?
An ordinance to amend section, chapter 190 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Land Use and Development to permit freestanding signs in the P, P2, and T zones and to modify the standards associated with blade signs.
Ordinance 3999 has not yet been reviewed by the planning board, which is required by law, since it is a land use ordinance. Therefore, the public hearing on ordinance 3999 will be continued to June 12th, 2024. The public hearing for ordinance 3999 was advertised for this evening, so anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance may do so tonight or at the June 12th, 2024 public meeting, or both. The public hearing is now open. Here we go. Susan, you're up. Do you have a comment on this public hearing?
Yeah, Susan Ruan, 705 Kingsbridge Lane. I have a question in regard to this particular. How does this affect the billboard
No,
that
this is
is
not
being
about the,
proposed?
excuse me, this is, did you say you wanted to comment on the billboard?
No. How does this ordinance affect the billboard, or does it?
The billboard? It does
Yes,
not
I mean, is
affect,
this allowing, what is the ordinance for, and how does it affect the billboard?
No,
Will it allow,
If you'd like, I can answer.
change the master plan to allow the conditions of the billboard to exist?
and I'm going to turn this over to, with your permission, to our attorney, Matt, and I think he can address your concerns.
Yeah. Susan, it doesn't have any impact on the billboard application. That's before the zoning board, nor could it. This has to do with signs that are going to be going up, permit freestanding signs in the P, P2, and T zones, and the standards that go along with them for blade signs. This is not in the location or anything to do with signs in the area where the billboard's going to be, or is being proposed. So it's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, Susan, blade
Okay, I
signs,
just don't understand the specifics
Right.
with you, when you just did the abbreviations. But yeah, as long as it doesn't, that's what I was trying to understand, how one affects the other. All right, great.
thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, I move the public hearing on ordinance 3999 be continued to June 12th, 2024.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes, I did just want to add, because this is important to us, the blade signs have been discussed. They're within the Central Business District. HPC has reviewed them. They're unbelievably charming. And tomorrow, Susan, when I walk the dog, I'll take a picture, and you can see what they are. But they're totally something separate, and it's a very good ordinance for adding, like, awesome charm and something that our business community has been clamoring for.
And Vagianos.
Yes, and again, Susan, this is like an old world, old English pub type of sign that is now allowable in the Central Business District. And with that, we will move on to the public hearing for number 4000. I move the clerk read ordinance 4000 by title on second reading, and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4000?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 at Section 145-4 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood entitled Fees, as it applies to department fees for Chapter 67 entitled Police Services for Extra Duty.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
Sorry, I move that ordinance 4000 be adopted on the second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd.
Yes.
And Vagianos.
Yes.
The following resolutions, numbered 24-156 through 24-173, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Award contract, train station concession, disposal of recyclable materials, award contract, preparation of village council meeting minutes through December 31st, 2024. Title 59 approval, crossing guard services, award contract, crossing guard services, award contract, Ford F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck for the recycling division, award contract under state contract, spatial data logic software, award contract under state contract, tri-band radios for the police department, award contract under North Jersey wastewater cooperative pricing system through the lead agency Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, Bel Air sanitary sewer pump station repair of electrical for sewer pumps. Award contract under North Jersey wastewater cooperative pricing system through the lead agency Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, emergency bypass sewer pump rental, Bel Air sanitary sewer pump station. Award contract under North Jersey wastewater cooperative pricing system through lead agency Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission, replacement of 2 sewer pumps, Bel Air sanitary sewer pump station. Or professional services contract feasibility study for a special improvement district, Phase 2. Award professional services contract, full service grant consulting and project support services. Award additional amount of contract resurfacing and repair of various village streets, thermoplastic line striping services. Authorized shared services agreement, use of styrofoam densifier with Hohokus. Authorized agreement, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, technical planning assistance. Accept additional grant funding from New Jersey Department of Transportation and approve modification number 2 to federal aid agreement, Safe Routes to School Grant Award Contract. Authorize refund and cancellation of property taxes for disabled veteran, Block 3301, Lot 44. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. And I'm going to recuse myself from the next 2 matters and turn the chair over to Deputy Mayor Pam.
Thank you.
The following resolutions, number 24-174 through 24-176, will be considered separately and read in full. Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the plans and specifications specifically titled Department of Parks Proposal for Tree Irrigation Services throughout the Village of Ridgewood, prepared by the Village of Ridgewood Department of Public Works Engineering Division for the Parks Department, being is hereby approved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood. This resolution is adopted pursuant to the authority of NJSA 59:4-6. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Recused.
Oh, sorry, yep. And next is, whereas the Village of Ridgewood received 1 bid for Department of Parks proposal for tree irrigation services throughout the Village of Ridgewood, in the Village of Ridgewood on Wednesday, March 27, 2024 at 11 a.m. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the award of the work of Department of Parks proposal for tree irrigation services throughout the Village of Ridgewood inclusive be and is hereby awarded to the sole responsible bidder, Downstreet Service Inc., 65 Royal Avenue, Hawthorne, New Jersey, in an amount not to exceed $108,500. And be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds will be available upon the adoption of the 2024 capital budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
And Winograd.
Yes.
And then the final resolution, resolution authorizing the application to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program Community Energy Planning Grant Program. Whereas a sustainable community seeks to ensure that its environmental, economic, and social objectives are balanced and mutually supportive. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood strives to assure clean land, air, and water for current and future generations. And whereas New Jersey's Energy Master Plan, Pathway to 2050 EMP, established that community-level action is necessary to achieve the state's goal of 100% clean energy by 2050. And whereas the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities has created the Community Energy Plan Grant Program for municipalities to develop a community energy plan to meet the goals of the state's Energy Master Plan. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood is invested in developing a community energy plan to help the state achieve the goal of 100% clean energy by 2050. And whereas the Community Energy Plan Grant Program will help the Village of Ridgewood to plan for and invest in renewable energy and to work towards a better environment for all residents by using the state's Energy Master Plan, EMP, as a guide to develop sustainable strategies that increase clean energy production, reduce energy use, and cut emissions. And whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood has determined that the Village of Ridgewood should apply for the aforementioned Community Energy Planning Grant Program, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood will commit to providing staff support for the duration of the community energy planning process, including for gathering relevant data and for convening at least one public meeting. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, State of New Jersey, authorizes the submission of the aforementioned application to the NJBPU Community Energy Planning Grant Program. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes, indeed.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. And with that, we will return to our public comments. Seeing no one, I will close public comment. And we will entertain a resolution. No, I do not. Oh, Mark says I have one. Oh, okay, her hand was not raised on our, on my screen, but Cynthia, I am told that you have your hand raised. There we go, good. Go ahead,
I was on mute, I apologize.
all good.
So I just wanted to
Please
mention,
state your name and address.
Cynthia O'Keefe, 542 West Saddle River Road. So I wanted to just address, Keith had mentioned that an email had gone out to me about the Fields Committee, but I apologize, I cannot find it. I've scoured my email, I don't see it. It was not in my spam folder or my trash. So anyway, if someone could just forward that to me, that would be great. I really appreciate it. And that was all I had to say. Thank you.
Well, good, thank you so much. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will now, again, close public comment.
So I just want to say, Cynthia, the email came, you wrote it to me, I responded, and then a woman named Christine Corliss from the Board of Ed, she provided a lot of background. I'll resend it, of course, and Keith will resend it as well, but if you want to look on those names, we responded right away that morning.
Both emails were sent in reply to the concern before 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning.
Anyone else from the dais? Then let's entertain a motion to go into a resolution to go into closed session.
Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on May 8th, 2024 at 7:30 PM or soon thereafter as a matter on the agenda can be reached, and that closed session will be held in the caucus room of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to legal matters to include the town garage and personnel matters to include tax assessor. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
They were concerned that we won't make it in time for the July 16th deadline, but I assured them that we could make, we could vote by special public meeting if necessary. Yes, just